Thank you so much for coming on with me.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. Yes, because today's a great day.
It is. So today is the day that Joe Biden was elected or president elect for the United States, and I have joining me for Colors Only with Miss Jackie. She is a registered nurse and a physician assistant, much like me, and so that's why I definitely wanted to get her perspective on where we stand as a country and specifically within the Black community. So, Jackie, I got a bunch of questions for you. If you feel
Oh,
if you feel like you
I'm
don't want to
ready.
answer, okay, all right, let's do it.
I'm ready. I just hold on real quick. Speaking of Black thing, to make sure my kids don't come busting in the door asking questions.
Okay.
They're teenagers, so they're pretty self sufficient. But just in case, that's
You got teenagers? I wouldn't even suspect you had kids because you look. Oh, I'm not even trying to
I
be.
have a 19-year-old son, and I have a 14-year-old stepson, and my twins are 13.
Wow, look at. I'm mad
Black
at you.
don't crack. Black don't
Shine,
crack.
honey, shine. So I divided your questions up into three categories. We're gonna talk about some
Got you.
medical stuff, some political stuff, and then just general social stuff. Um,
Got you.
so as a Black woman that is a nurse and physician assistant, have you ever been in a situation in which you felt like your judgment or practice was questioned by a coworker or patient, and do you feel like it could have been racially motivated?
Wow. So the thing is, I have quite a few instances where I know for sure that has happened. Just thinking back to when I was a nurse, I worked in the ER, the ICU. So when I was in the ICU, I remember being trained by this nurse, and he was like, "So if you have a pork allergy, what would you like? What medicine would you not want to give a patient?" And I mean, I answered it without even thinking. I'm like, heparin. He's like, "Oh, not just a pretty face." But what I really think he wanted to say was like, "Oh, not just a pretty face and Black." He thought he was gonna trip me up on something. Um, I would say, like, as a PA, I definitely have had. I've worked in. Well, first of all, I live in Wisconsin, so let's big ups to Milwaukee for showing up and showing out for the vote. But
Okay.
I worked in the suburbs, and in one particular area, I worked in this. I'm gonna say it because I want people to know where the cities are. Like, Burlington is a racist city. That's just what it is. I think they have like it's a small percentage of Black people that are out there. But at the time I worked in urgent care, I was the only Black provider in the urgent care. So not just like I'm the only Black provider. There's no Black nurse. There's no Black medical assistant. It's Burlington. So when I first started working there, we had a supervisor who would call me into the office, and I've worked in healthcare for a long time, like 19 years. So when I would get called in off of stuff that you can tell is just because I'm Black. So one complaint was, "Jackie, the patient said that you didn't even knock on the door. You just walked into the room and you were like, 'Hey girl, what's up?'" And I was like, me being me, I'm very vocal. I am, because I'm confident in what it is that I know. And I call BS when there's BS to be called, because if no one does it, then they keep doing it. So I said to my supervisor, you've watched me like just work in general, like you're not watching over me, but you've seen me interact. When have you ever seen me, first of all, not knock before I enter a room, and I introduce myself? I said, "So what was she gonna say next?" I was beatboxing, rapping, twerking when I walked in. I said, "She's only saying that because I am Black." Um, oh my gosh, like you say, I have I've had people say they want to speak to the supervisor, and I had to kindly remind them I'm the person in charge. So you're gonna take it up with me, and we're already not having a great dialogue. I don't think it's gonna go far. So unfortunately, I can think of plenty of times in my medical career where I have been questioned, not only because I am Black, I know it's because I'm a Black woman and I look young. So I've had people try and, play me and I remember when I first started working in the ER as a PA. So not as a nurse, as a PA. So I had experience, but I remember a nurse coming up to me and she was like, "I've been a nurse for 30 years. Older white lady. Like, I said, "Okay." And I've been a nurse for 5 years before I decided to go to PA school. I'm just confused as to what relevance that has. But yeah, I've had plenty of times where I introduced myself and they didn't think it's me. I got the white coat doesn't tell you anything. Not, "Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm the physician assistant that's going to be treating you today." That that just went all over here. Like, unfortunately, I think it's not they want to act like it doesn't exist, but it does exist. And I think it's highlighted in areas like me living in Wisconsin, where less than 1% of the PAs are Black, where, they're going to question, like, what is your role? Are you the nurse? But when I was a nurse, it was, are you the housekeeper? And now that I'm the PA, am I the nurse? I never can just be who I said I was, Yeah, so to answer that question, yes, too many times, and it hasn't stopped.
And yes, and since both of us are nurses, I say this with confidence. Don't you just love when other nurses love to question us now that we're in the provider role? It just makes you like, wow, did I do that as a nurse? And
so, and this is the crazy thing. So I always talk about how when I got involved in like going into healthcare in general, I kind of feel that I was called, like no matter how much I try and get away from it, it's just who I am. God put me in this position. I'm going to take care of people in this capacity. That's what it is. But I have learned that people will try you and try and doubt you and try and invalidate the reasons you do things. And I think, like, for example, when I worked in the ER, that particular ER I worked in was in the inner city. It's actually not far from my house right now, in the inner city. And at that time, I was also the only Black provider in the ER. I was the only Black PA. There was no Black doctor. There were a lot of Black nurses, but then, majority of the nurses were white. And I would get people that would question me. And I know it wasn't questioning me because they felt I was doing something unsafe. I feel like I was being questioned because they wanted to insult my intelligence. Because when I was a nurse, I'm used to doing everything. I can start my IV. So as a provider in the ER capacity, it's quicker for me to go clean my own wound and get it all done instead of trying to find you. If it's something I can do, I'm gonna do it. So they can never be like, oh, I'm just putting off work on anybody else. And it's mainly because I have OCD and I want to make sure it's done right. But I would have nurses like straight up, I would say try me. I just remember one particular incident where a nurse was training another nurse and she happened to be white. And I like, this is how I operate in my space. I'm a fun personality. And when I'm working though, I'm probably like a little bit A-, B+ personality. If I'm working, you working. If I ain't working, then I don't care what everybody else doing, no matter the position. And I remember saying to this nurse, hey, I've been waiting on a urine for a long time. I need to order a CAT scan on this woman. I need to make sure she's not pregnant. And I guess she didn't like how I'm like coming to her. But I'm like, I've been waiting like this. You're training somebody. So if you're training somebody, they need to know that, first thing, they're pregnant to proven not pregnant. I need this urine. And so apparently she didn't like that. And me, so I'm the type I will take a lot of stuff. But then when I'm there, yeah, so I kind of was like, she was like coming to try and check me about how I came at her. And I was like, but that's your job. Like, I'm doing my job, you're doing your job, right? Then I had to pull out a Drake lyric and was like, there's levels to this. And
come on.
And it was because I felt at that point that I was just being disrespected. I felt like that would not if it had been any of the docs who were all white, it would not have happened. And it wasn't because you had more nursing experience than me. I know how to do your job, so I'm telling you that you're doing your job incorrectly. So then it turned into this whole big thing where, and like I like to say, I'm from the hood, so you can take the hood, me out the hood. I still just got some hood tendencies. And even when I have my white coat on, if you push me too far, I'd be having to remind myself, girl, you got this white coat, you got stuff to lose. But she was like, I had to tell her, like, you have to get out my face. Like, why are you combating me about what your job is? I need you to get out my face. And she was like, if I was a nurse practitioner, could I talk to you any way that I wanted to? And I had to say, ma'am, no, never in your life. Like it was getting, but I just know that it wasn't and I know it wasn't because I was doing something incorrect. I honestly feel like it was because I was a Black woman asking her a question and she felt like I was out of place for checking her or make sure she's doing her job. So, because it wasn't really checking, it was making sure that you're doing your job, because I'm trying to get these people in and out. If I'm waiting an hour and a half for a urine, like
which take 20 minutes, if that.
Exactly. And especially if you're training somebody else. I mean, I think I believe in there's order and there's hierarchies. There's people who can you can't delegate to me. And
exactly.
I think I have, and it's hard for me because it's like, I know your job. You don't know my job. And I think it just gets tougher when you're working in environments where you're the only Black person, because you see stuff and you have to stop it. So you think they're questioning, I should turn that off, whatever that is, that they're questioning you, not like, again, like I said, not because it's a safety thing, but just because they want to. I've always felt like my intelligence has been questioned because I don't always speak as proper as other people speak. I'm big on simplifying things. So I also remember a nurse telling me, hey, she didn't want to cap a 3-year-old. And I honestly believe that maybe it's a mix of her being lazy. Maybe it wasn't because I was Black, but I think she just, again, question my intelligence. And I'm like, well, she's like, can I just get this kid Peridium? And I was like, I get you're trying to sound smart, but
look, I'm sorry, I even had just on basic nursing judgment, cath or some medication to a 3-year-old
or a 3-year-old,
and Pyridium of all things.
I wish I was making it up, but I mean, these are the things where, and I've called people out and I've said, hey, I know that you are questioning if I know what I'm doing. If you feel there's a safety thing, I am all for you bringing it to me. Like, hey, Jackie, is this the dose that you really wanted? But if you're just questioning me because you're lazy or you think I'm just not, I don't fit the picture of what you think is smart. Yes, no, thank you.
And I just thought of another question that I'm going to ask you, but the second question is currently in the medical world, the most popularly discussed health disparity right now is the maternal death rate of African-American women. Mm-hmm. So what are some other health disparities, that continue to go on in silence in healthcare?
Wow. I think the biggest healthcare disparity is healthcare access, because we don't realize that a lot of people don't have healthcare. Mainly, the affordability is going to be my biggest take from it. Is it's freaking expensive, and when people have to choose between, am I going to live in like a house? I may not even be living decently, but I'm working a $15 an hour job, and not even that. Let's go down to I'm getting minimum wage or something like that, or I'm working 2 jobs, and I can't afford the health insurance. Like, listen, I'm a PA, and I want a discount, but look, my health insurance is expensive. I just took my girls to get some glasses. I was like, dang, y'all really can't see, huh? So, what's the insurance price? Okay, but I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be in a position where I have that access. I think that society as a whole does not realize how many people lack access. So when we start seeing people, like if you work in an ER or an urgent care capacity, or somewhere where people just come in and they don't have a relationship with you, and then you start questioning, well, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C? Insurance and healthcare is like a foreign language, and I think a lot of Black people miss the boat because of access. There's also the whole trust issue that affects access. So when I think of disparities, everything is going, in my opinion, is going to be related to access, because when I have access to healthcare with a provider that I can trust, that I feel is going to be doing what's in my best interest, then I am going to actually stick to a plan. Because I want to say compliance. I don't think people intentionally try not to be compliant. I think they have to make life decisions that privilege is not having to choose that. So like when you think about high blood pressure, heart disease is still the #1 killer. But how many people are walking around with untreated or undiagnosed high blood pressure? So I would say access.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the part about insurance, because a lot of the times insurance companies will dictate to us how we're going to care for people. No, they can't have an MRI because they need physical therapy. No, they can't do that because they need to do this. And it's kind of like based on someone's insurance product, you already have some providers who treat Medicaids like they're the scum of the earth versus Medicare, or they will only take X amount of Medicaid patients. And that, like you said, it's just layers on top of layers, just stemming from access, insurance, and product. But implicit bias is a known and proven cause to some of the health disparities among Black people in America. How do people like you and I combat this implicit bias and fix some of those disparities?
Wow. So I feel like there's a lot to dissect in here, only because I've seen it firsthand. So I'm gonna start with a story and then go into what I think is. So working in the ER, again, inner city, like it's an inner city ER, mostly white nurses. I would get nurses that would be like, well, come out. They don't realize how freaking loud they are, but talk about how, oh, so you got this purse, this person can buy this purse, but they can't buy Tylenol. They have these Jordans, but they can't buy ibuprofen. And they have, the newest iPhone, like X, Y, they put us into these typecasts, like, well, you have this, but you can't get this, and you're here in the ER. People may not realize that they have these biases, but they do. Some people are going to be vocal, and I'm the type of person, I'm going to check them. So I feel that if you see something, you need to say something up front, and there's a way to do it. You can do it, and if somebody is going to be offended, that's just going to be on them, but they need to know that they're being wrong. As far as implicit bias, you have to kind of think about how the systematic and systemic racism has been built in this country. It seeps everywhere. So people automatically are assuming and that the Black person is on Medicare. I've run across people, or not Medicare, I'm sorry, like Medicaid or state insurance, don't have their own insurance. They automatically make these assumptions. Or one of the biggest things that people will do when it comes to a Black person, I think, is it almost insult their intelligence. And I speak that from just personal experience, where you see the first thing that someone does when they don't know you is they try to attack intelligence. And you're like, whoa, I mean, don't let me pull out the letters, but I just want you to know that's probably not the route you want to go with me. So I think that our non-Black colleagues, because it happens, unfortunately, in other races too, where Black people get categorized as, unhealthy, unintelligent, uninsured, and that's not always the case. One is just recognizing that you have a bias. Everyone has a bias. Everyone. I have a bias, and you have to work intentionally and consciously to not have that seep into your care. And if you are saying that you do not have any type of bias, you're already part of the problem. You're already perpetuating or doing something that you may not be aware, because self-awareness is that's a higher level skill type of thing that most humans don't have, unfortunately. But we have to first, as providers, recognize it. And I think unfortunately, when we are in these positions, I know people as a whole, when it comes to like Black people in general, and we're talking about educating people about Black people, we're tired and we feel like we shouldn't have to. And I feel like when we come to our profession, unfortunately, we still have to take on that responsibility, because this is a matter of life or death. So it's not, and I'm not saying it minimizes anything else that happens on a general broad scale. But when you're talking healthcare, the maternal, fetal, like the MFM, I know maternal, fetal, maternal, mom, basically the maternity and the babies and all of them. You look at that data. You look at how the opioid crisis is not affecting Black people like it is other people of other races, because they believe that we didn't have pain all this time and they weren't treating it. So that should be clear. That's, in my opinion, that should be clear. But when you think about like exaggerating symptoms and whatever the bias may be, I think we have to, or you just think somebody's lazy and they're not doing, why are you overweight? Well, maybe you have PCOS. Maybe nobody's ever like dissected why this is going on. We're not gonna talk about food deserts in communities and just decreased access to food, like healthy food and whatever the case. So it's not ever just we have to remove those stereotypes so that we can better treat our patients, better educate, and then also have some compassion and some empathy amongst your colleagues, because I know I have called out colleagues. I'm quick to send an email to HR, whoever you want to be a supervisor. I'm just thinking of like 2020, because 2020 has been heavy. I'm like, y'all didn't check on none of the Black providers, because I was looking for the email. You ain't got to, we speak like you care, right. But these are things that I think like they, as a professional community, it has to be talked about. And the only way that you're going to know that you're doing it is if you pause and be like, oh, wait a minute, I do automatically think this, or I do automatically think that. Like, what's the first thought you think of when you think of Black people? If somebody says, oh, a crime, so I think Black people are criminals because, I just automatically thought it was a Black person. So those type of things seep into your professional life. Even if you surround yourself with a whole bunch of people who are like, do racist type things, or they don't think it's racist because they have their one Black friend that allows it to happen. You probably have a bias that you're bringing with you that you just aren't aware of. We all know everybody has a Black friend.
Thank you. Okay. And like I told one of my classmates when I was in PA school, every serial or axe murderer has a friend. And just because they don't axe murder that friend does not make them any less of a serial killer or axe murderer.
Exactly. Hey, listen, I tell people, my new thing now is when people want to talk about like Black on Black crime, I'm going to bring out white on white crime in the form of, because they always get a show on Netflix. Because I watched what was it? The dude in Colorado, Chris Watts, and then Scott Peterson. I was like, they killed their whole family. So I don't want to hear anybody you don't want me talking about white on white crime. Don't tell me about no Black on Black crime.
Ever. Now I'm going to give you a story, and I just want you to give me your take on it. And I thought of it because I'm like, oh, duh, Jackie, let me run this past her. So at my current job, I go out to my car on lunch because I just like to get away. I don't like to, being Black provider, and I'm the only Black provider at my job, the only Black employee and the only Black provider. So, right. So I go out because I just need a moment to not be on stage, and I have to be super professional all the time. So I already have my schedule in my head. When I come back from lunch, the first person is a new patient, or not, it's a follow-up visit. Then the person after that is a new patient. So when I come back in, one of the front desk girls, she says to me, hey, Brandon, your first patient today, they came in with a Confederate flag mask and a Confederate flag shirt. And the receptionist, she asked us, well, should we say something to Brandon? And then she also said, no, let's not bring it up to Brandon. Mind you, this receptionist is married to a Black man. She's a white lady married to a Black man. So I had said, well, hold on, no one room anybody. Let me talk to the nurse practitioner who's also there and let me see if we can arrange something. So I go to the nurse practitioner in front of the people that were there for the first conversation. And I said, just to avoid any conflict, I will take 3 of your phone visits if you do this one follow-up for me. Because in my mind, she said my first patient is the follow-up. And then I had said, or I'll do one of your follow-ups. Just, I just want to avoid any potential conflict. Mm-hmm. So then I go back to my room, to my office. And so the receptionist lady, she goes and tells the office manager, Brandon's refusing to see his new patient because they have a Confederate flag mask and shirt on. And I'm so pissed off about it. Mind you, I didn't know that this was my new patient because I'm thinking my first patient, like she said, is the follow-up. So, mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to screw nobody over. So then the office manager comes storming into my office. And you know how Black people are. I have my door shut. If you don't knock and you just enter, I'm instantly mad. Like, she opened my door, flung it open, and was like, we don't do that in healthcare. It like raised her voice. You're no better than he is. You're just as discriminatory. And then proceeded to tell me, what if he was Black and he had it on? And so I raised my voice because I'm mad too. I didn't get too unprofessional. Hood Brandon almost came out because 18-year-old Brandon would have dragged the old lady down the hallway. Like, just, she wouldn't have even been able to say nothing. I just would have jumped across my desk and took her out. But I just simply told her, I said, I'm not seeing that person, whether it's new or follow-up, in a discussion. I'm not going to argue with you about it. She said, well, I'm going to call the doctor I work for, and I'm going to have a conversation with him about it. I said, well, you can have a conversation with him, and if you feel like I did something wrong, then he can come and address me. So I went to the nurse practitioner. I said, I'll take your new patient, and whatever, we'll swap that way, because I don't want you to feel like I'm getting over on you, because the new patients take about an hour to get done. Mm-hmm. Basically, long story short, I got told that because I disrespected the office manager by saying I'm not seeing the patient in a discussion, I got suspended for a week. What is your take on that?
Oh, Jesus. All right. So I'm big on like energy and vibes. So I would have definitely taken it as disrespect from any staff who would think that I would be forced to see a patient who's it's not an emergency. If it's an emergency, I can understand, but this is not emergent, and you chose to wear that, and it's intimidating. That definitely shows that you work in a climate where they are culturally incompetent, and that there has to be some standard. And had it been me, because I know me, and I guess speaking from 37-year-old me now and then, I know that in that situation, I would have did the same as far as like, okay, you know what? I would have, like you said, I would have evenly traded somebody and let them know, because if I'm stuck with them, I already know myself. I'm going to be coming into a hostile and intense environment just because my blood pressure is going to rise up. My heart rate is going to go up. I don't feel safe in the environment because I don't know what you're thinking. You clearly felt comfortable to wear this. And while you are totally okay to wear what you want to wear, you have to be respectful of the environment. And that's my opinion. Respect as you're trying to make a statement. And while what I think the office manager should have done in that situation is like, hey, it's kind of like if you walk in with no shirt and no shoes. If you don't want me to wear my Black Lives Matter t-shirt in, he shouldn't be allowed to wear his Confederate flag shirt in and then I'm supposed to be okay. So what should have happened, and I'm just surprised that you got suspended, because I'm just thinking of a situation where I guess I'm always big on, I like to diffuse a situation. So if you think you're not about to go tell somebody something about me, I'm going ahead. So you talking about you going, but actually I wouldn't even have said. So what I would have did when she had said she had called, I would have called the doctor that I worked with, because I don't know how to describe it. I'm always trying to be 5 steps ahead of you, because when you think you got me, right. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I feel even more vulnerable, because you're going to be vulnerable in that type of setting. I would have went, as soon as, first of all, I would be like, you didn't knock. So I'm gonna let you, and I think I just would have sent a nicely, strongly worded email about how you disrespected my space because you came in, jumping to conclusions. You didn't ask me, so that we skipped professional courtesy when you just came in, didn't ask me what was going on and try to remedy a situation. So clearly you're letting me know that you don't care about how comfortable I am in this environment. And because I know that if I'm working in an environment where I don't feel comfortable, I'm jumping ship. I'm already looking for another job. Fuck you. Oh, wait, can I cuss in here? I'm sorry to put that out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I am. I just want to say that for the record. But
because that's kind of how I'm like, okay, fuck you. And because you set the ground, you set the foundation. To me, there's no way that you can redeem yourself from that. And everybody in the office, they would feel uncomfortable, because I'm the type like that where I'm going to be it's going to seem like I have a problem, but you really have a problem because I'm not engaging with you. I'll come in, see the patient, do what I need to do, and make it about my day. I don't need to say hi, bye. I don't care about what's going on your weekend. I don't care about any of that. So it'll be a real uncomfortable environment for you. I had so I'm excited about this day because this week actually I took off the Monday before election. I worked on election day. And I took off the day after election, even though I knew the results wouldn't be in, but I knew I needed a mental health day because I worked the last election day in Burlington. And that whole week was trying. I mean, I ended up quitting that job, but that whole week was like a trying and stressful week. I had a patient straight cuss me out, call me every name but the child of God. So the nurses love me. They're all white and they love me. And I mean, the nurse was like, Jackie, I'm going to send an email because this guy is tripping. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to let y'all know, like, if y'all can hear him, they can hear him outside the room. And I just walked out because let me tell you, you're going to argue with yourself. I'm not arguing with you. This is what I said is going to happen. This is you don't have to agree. And then that same week, I had a 17-year-old boy come in. He had a Confederate flag hat on, but nobody knew. You know, like he was bleeding. You know how you get people get a lack and they all like dying. So they're like, Jackie, because I was fast. I'm first done. And I wasn't up for a patient. They're like, Jackie, he's about to pass out. And I'm like, okay, fine. I go in and fix it up real quick. As I'm going out, he takes his hat and put it on his Confederate flag hat. Now, the nurse I'm working with, she's like, her face is just like, she's white. She's like, and he's like, oh, now I ain't asking why you got the hat on. It's just like, whatever it is. But he's like, oh, I wear this hat because I hate Black people. But not you, because you're a doctor. The nurse was like, and I was like, so I had to do like, you do that slow blink because that blink is the reset. You do the reset, and you're like, all right. So I said, you're lucky that you're talking to me, and not somebody else. One, I'm not a doctor. I'm a physician assistant. Two, I'm just going to encourage you not to carry that type of language out in public because everybody is not going to be as nice as me.
Period.
We have been on the streets now.
But no, for transparency, so it's a private practice that I work at. And not only that, it's a pain management. So this was not an emergency situation, like, you know, and like when I had my opportunity to explain myself in the meeting that we had with this office manager, there were several points I brought up. The first part was, like I told them, I'm the only Black provider, Black employee here. No one here can help explain to you what it's like to walk in my shoes. I said, what if I walked into that room and the man said, I don't want no colored boy taking care of me? You could sense the tension and the awkward in the room. And I said, and what will happen then? And they literally sat there silent. I said, you don't have to think about these things because you're not Black. I am. And so then I continued on. I said, Dr. Blank, there are several times that you come to me and you say, I got to go golf or I got to go race. Can you switch these people? Can you see these people for me? And we switched them. I said, no problem. No questions asked. We switch. How is that any different than me and the nurse practitioner switching people? And he goes, well, you are ultimately the provider at the end of the day. I said, right. The office, and this is probably a little condescending, I said, but the office manager, she should be more concerned with ordering urine drug testing cups and not what's going on between two providers. Period. And so,
in the front desk person, because then the front desk person, like, she need to stay in her lane. Was the phone ringing? Is the desk clean? Did you make sure the counter was wiped off?
And then I told him, I said, and I would hope she's getting suspended too, because she, who was married to a Black man, knew that there could be trouble when she saw it. And then the fact that she brought it up to everybody and then said, no, let's not bring it up. I mean, she wanted there to be trouble. So I said, if I'm going, she's going. So, but you know how we operate. I'm not going to go nowhere until I have a different job when I am currently looking. But COVID didn't screw everybody up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big advocate of that. I don't believe that we should be subjected. First of all, we're too intelligent. We are qualified. We earned our position. Probably fought harder than anybody else that is in the position to be in a position. Absolutely. There's no way I'm going to work in an environment that upsets my mental health, my emotional health, and where I feel that I'm disrespected and not appreciated.
Absolutely.
But I will give you the notice that you want. I may work the whole notice. I don't want to lie to you and say that I will stay to the end.
Well, and when that time comes, I just said it in my mind because she continues to do little passive aggressive stuff and I've checked her and whatever, but I'm just like, you're trying to push me to go, and don't worry, I've been put out of better. I will go, but I'm going to go on my own terms, sweetheart.
Absolutely.
When I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
So, but let's move on to some of the political stuff. So, moving toward the election, Black women overwhelmingly supported Joe Biden. However, there has been a historical movement of Black men to supporting Donald Trump and the Republicans. How do you feel about that? And why do you think that that happened?
So I think that the influence of white male patriarchy goes deep. And the first allies are going to be the white woman. But as the white woman is realizing, wait a minute, you just want me here in the corner and you're not really elevating me with you, they're falling back because they're like, wait a minute, I've been riding with you. And yeah, I don't want to be racist, but I'll be racist a little bit if I can go where I need to go.
Absolutely.
But when you realize that white male patriarchy is the systemic issue in this country, and they're going to do anything that they can to make sure that they stay in power, you're going to always have, and I want to highlight the majority that do not fall that way. I just hate that the minority they use think that they're going to be able to, they're next up. And I just want to be clear and let them know that they're not. Like, you can kiss all the butt, lick all the bottoms of shoes, be right there in the corner, sacrifice your entire culture, and you will still be at the bottom of their list. They're going to give you a job or a position that seems like something, but in all actuality, it does nothing for you. And then you have nobody to fall back on because it's the Black woman, and then it's the other Black man and the other minorities that had your back. So I think it's like a slap in the face. But then my experience, I like to have real data, but this is just my thoughts, and maybe I'll look this up. I probably won't, but I think that a lot of the people that do steer that way, they're not really civically engaged. And they like, for example, what Kanye, when he was running Trump, he wasn't even voting. So like all of a sudden you want somebody to vote for you. Like, you want us to vote for you, and you wasn't voting.
And didn't George Bush not care about Black people?
Right. And then like, okay, and people that we shouldn't aspire to be, like Lil Wayne. I mean, how much syrup, is that what it is? Purple drink that he don't have that has fried his, is it prefrontal cortex? Wherever his higher learning is, it's not working right now. So I think what happens is, the sad thing about it is that they'll get, like if you think of the RNC, they put they'll find a Black man who was like a football player who's retired, concussions, can't trust what he's thinking. But, and then they'll use that as, look, see, he agrees. It's like when they highlight, Candace Owen isn't a man, but she does the same thing. They have no soul, and unfortunately we perpetuate in this sense of it's okay to have no good morals, just get what you need and get going. So those men that supported Trump, I don't have any respect for them, because it's not, if you're going to tell me that it's just for $1, I mean, the dollar could be here today. I mean, it changes all the time. It's not steady. I'm all for equity. Give me my reparations, Joe Biden. No.
Okay. And get rid of some of this student loan. Okay.
Listen, they don't put these income caps on them. I want my stuff gone. I have faith that we can just get a little bit in. Listen, y'all, I'll be praying. People like, oh, I paid off my students. I'm like, that's good, but I'm trying to stretch them out, pay the least minimum, because I'm waiting. I just have hope that in this lifetime, in the next 10 years, they'll be gone.
That's my strategy.
I'm about to live. They should get this education for free. But
period. How did you feel when Kamala Harris was selected to be Biden's VP and is now the vice president?
So let's talk about this. Yeah, let's go here. So it's a couple of things. So this is my issue. Both of those, as the president and vice president choices, were not my first choice. To be honest, I would have been okay with Kamala being selected as vice president. I just did not think that she was ready for president right now. And I was riding with Bernie, Elizabeth Sanders.
Yes.
And even I gotta think who the guy is, and my brain is, I can't find the name right now. The guy who was the billionaire in California, because he just don't do right. So I'm pulled by character in your actionable items. So are you gonna get rid of student loans? You care about the climate, and you want healthcare for everybody. So I felt that we needed, especially with Trump, we needed somebody who was the polar opposite. And yes, people would have been upset and divided, but they were going to be that anyhow. Because as you can see, they tried to flip it and make it seem like Joe Biden was this uber progressive. And I'm like, wait, no, he's not, because I would have chosen him. He was actually last on my list to be chosen. But I'm a person that operates for what's best for the collective. Like right now, there's anybody who tries to debate me, and first of all, they gotta hope I would have the energy to give them any attention about like why Trump was better. But like if anybody tries to engage me about why Trump was better than Biden and Kamala, like I just can't go there with you. But I may not have been the first choice. I also didn't think it was the lesser of two evils. I think you had like this weird, very blatant, loud, blazing evil, and then you had, well, shoot, we either gonna walk into hell or we gonna, just walk next to it and then divert off of it. But when they were chosen as the candidates, I fully supported it. I mean, the good thing about Kamala is that she's a Black woman. And I do believe that she's going to do the pressure's on. So she wants to be president in future. So, and even if she doesn't, she got to open up the doorway, and we put our foot in, like, so I think it's good because my kids, so my youngest are 13, and they remember Barack Obama being elected. And I think our country, there's this division that you can see from the election results that shows that there's people who still think horribly. And it's a big chunk of people who don't believe that racism is a big thing and representation doesn't matter and opportunities are equal. And we've come so far forward, not realizing that our parents were alive in the 60s. Like, my mom was born in 61 and they grew up during these times. My grandparents are still like, this is not that far away, and I ain't old like that. So I think that they forget that there's kids that are watching this. And my kids got to see a Black man be president. Now they get to see a Black woman be vice president. So that gives them hope and aspiration, because, I mean, we got to think about it. We could be so much better as a country, but if you're going to run the records, just run down the pictures of you just see white man, all the way into number 44, and then 45. I don't know why we just gave up. We just were like, pick a clown, and that's what we got in office for 4 years. I don't care what anybody says. He was not qualified, and I think it's dangerous when you start telling people, because I want people to work at their highest level. Reach your biggest potential, but we should not have. That's a horrible example to have, to let people know, like, oh, you don't have to be qualified. You don't have to know what you're doing. You just got to be, I guess, manipulative and persuasive and play to people's biggest fears. And I mean, that came back, like Van Joe was talking about the character speaks volume. So I wanted my kids to see that. I'm glad they were able to see, nearly squeaking by, that character in the end wins. So I'm hopeful that Joe Biden knows better to put people into positions that can make a difference and is more representative of the actual country. Because, I mean, you look at that cabinet, that revolving cabinet from 45, it was white.
Okay, revolving.
And then revolving cabinet. So anytime you have something that is that unstable, I mean, you're just not going to be set up to succeed. That's just what it is. I mean, how many Black people had? Herman Cain died. Omarosa was there in the beginning. I'll be one of Black people to know that I ain't forget Stacey Dash. I ain't forget about you.
Never forgotten. Never. And Herman Cain, you may be gone, but you never forgotten, honey, in a very negative way.
So it's like, we so desperately need leadership. It's actually scary. I talk about this often, that we give people way more credit than what they need to have. Everybody's not smart. I don't care what. It's just what it is, because people don't read. People don't understand how statistics works, how data is interpreted. And there's a big chunk of cognitive dissonance. I'm gonna find things that are confirmation bias, so it aligns with, like, there's just so much going on. And I think that with the current president and vice president elect, that just showed me that there's some glimmer of hope that people want to try and make things better. It's not gonna be perfect. And I gave this analogy to my husband where I was like, it's like when you go to the gym. Like, listen, when I work out one time, I be feeling like I got a 6-pack. I don't, but I be like, yes, but I don't see those results. And I think people have to take what's happening now politically and understand it's going to take some time. There's some undoing that has to happen, and it's from all levels. So we got the president and vice president. That's great, but we need to work on the Senate. We need to work on Congress and our local
Supreme Court.
Elections. So our state legislators, yes, absolutely. But that's how we do it. We got to get other people into position. And maybe we just need to have somebody teach a civics class, because nobody knows how the government works, and they just be elected people. I'm like, do you know what they even do? You can look up what that title is supposed to be about and what their responsibility is supposed to be. It's not a popularity contest. This ain't high school. We like a whole dang country to run. So I think that, for one, it just opens the door for women, because back to this white male patriarchy. So I was like, I was listening to something. I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about how they were afraid that white women weren't going to vote because, like, a woman of color gets to be in that high of a position.
Wow.
They would. And I was like, that's a real thought. And I was listening to election night. I think it was like 11 something. I went to bed, and I live in Wisconsin, and we couldn't count our absentee and, mail-in ballots yet. And 45 was ahead. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Here we go. But when I woke up, I was like, oh, there's some faith. We showed up. But but I was concerned about that, because I just remember the feelings I had with Hillary. There were too many women who were like, I'm not voting for Hillary. And it's like, she definitely was way better qualified than 45. I don't care what anybody tries to, like, when people, just because she let her husband cheat on her. I'm like, y'all letting y'all husbands cheat on y'all, so y'all just don't know because he.
You're just oblivious. Like, and some of you know about it and still turn a blind eye to it. Like, how dare you? But you know what? The Democrats were dumb. They messed up 2 times with Hillary Clinton. The first one was, if you go back and look at the polls of Hillary Clinton when she was the first lady, she was hated by the country back in 92 and 96 when Bill Clinton was there, because she made comments like, who has time to cook? I'm first lady. And granted, I was with that. I'm all about feminism and all that stuff. But she wasn't well received by the suburban housewives and stuff like that, because they cook and stay at home at that time. It's a new time period. But the other thing is they clearly stole that primary from Bernie Sanders, which therefore made all the minorities angry, all the young voters angry. It was doomed to fail, to say the least.
Right. So I mean, honestly, that's kind of like what I was thinking was going to happen now, as far as like the people who are just so full of hate. I mean, like, so we live in the city, but I drive to suburbs for appointments. I like to be on time and all that stuff. So I drive to suburbs for appointments, and we're driving past Win for Trump signs. And I'm like, how? Why? I guess I will never understand how you can vote against your interests. And I mean, and I hate when people bring up like the past and track records, because let's just be completely honest. There is zero politician that is going to be elected that does not have something going on. It's just going to be a matter of what it is and how acceptable we are of whatever it was that they did. Like, we should not be okay that for the past 4 years we had somebody who's been accused of sexual assault multiple times in office, whose best friend that he got killed. I don't care if it's a conspiracy, but I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was killed by the administration. And pedophiles hang together. I don't care what anybody says. But I mean, just like character, he's on wife number 3. Let's just put it that way. Wife number 3, porn star you paid off with the check that you signed your name on, and like, he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. And the complicitness of the Republican Party was just absolutely disgusting. When we can't stand up to somebody when we know that they're doing wrong, we don't deserve a position of leadership, of impact, of influence. Like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And I feel that we just been in the twilight zone. Like, half the time I'm like, this is real life. I'm like, what country I'm about to claim when I go on international? I don't want them to be like, you from,
Nope.
I don't know them.
I'm from London, honey.
Right.
I've just had a tourist visa through America one time, but I'm from
London. People don't understand, like, it is bad, but I'm one of faith, so I just have faith that something will shake. It's going to take time, though, and I want people to understand that and be patient with the process and make sure that they're voting in their local elections and that they're geared up for 2022 when the next elections are up, and that they show up just as effectively, because it doesn't matter if we get him in the White House, but we still have a Republican controlled Senate that won't pass anything. That was part of the issue with Obama, like that. We were like, oh yeah, we won this, but if we understand how government works, okay, we got him into this position. We need to make sure that we can get the things that we need passed. It's not just, I'm president, I make this happen. I know they heard 45 say a million times, I'm signing an executive order. That's not how it works, okay?
And those are pretty much bucket lists. And that just brings up the issue that I have with the Democrats. There's 2. 1, stop being so soft and punch back. I understand that y'all want to take the high road, and I'm sorry, Michelle Obama, I love you, but I am not with that whole they go low, I go high. They go low, I'm kicking them in the face, I'm punching them in the face, I'm doing something. I'm not going to go.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel the same. Like, I think that we can't go out like no punks. Like, you can't be a party.
That's why they don't like us. That's why the world don't like us.
Yeah. We gotta go. My husband always says that. He was like, they need to go hard. And that's why I think we needed Bernie, because Bernie wasn't about to take no shit from 45. Oh, you want to sit here and talk about your mama? And what I'm about to do is cancel these student loans. Now what? Like, that's.
And he was trying to get the prisoners free, trying to get them to, and the second thing is the Democrats, this is a major flaw of theirs. You don't do enough of talking about how important the Senate is and the Supreme Court is. And I've been telling anybody who comes to me for political advice or commentary or something, yeah, the White House is cute. That's fine. But to me, that's just an accessory. The Senate is where it's at. The only thing the Senate can't do really is make any law that involves the fiscal budget or the economy. That has to start in the House. Everything else is ran by the Senate. That's where the power is.
Absolutely. And
they choose the cabinet and the judges and all that, So
Kentucky, y'all got to do better. That's what I need y'all to do, because listen, ain't no way Mitch McConnell, no chin having Bush still.
For his seventh term, he will be in that Senate 42 years by the time he's done and up for re-election again, which is another point. We need term limits on the senators.
But absolutely, we need term limits on senators, and I think that, I mean, when anybody's making a decision, they definitely should take it into consideration. Like, this Senate played in your face during the pandemic. First of all, they gave you $1,200. Where did they get this number from? I just need somebody to tell me when somebody's like, yeah, give them money and give them $1,200. What is that covering? And especially with the number of people that are out of work, and you can't be like, oh, well, the unemployment, well, that there's a cap on everything. So and then that expired. So like, y'all let them give y'all $1,200, and that was it. Then instead of, I mean, as the numbers of coronavirus cases have gone up and deaths have gone up, they just like, you know what, I'm tired of hearing COVID. It was like, okay, this is going on. I want to get Supreme Court justice in. So y'all just let them play in your face and say, we don't care about you as a people. We have an agenda that we're trying to push, and we good over here, because if I get sick, I can go to whatever hospital and use this good old government insurance that I don't want y'all to have.
Well, and that's why Biden, if he gets the Senate at some point, they better pack the hell out of that Supreme Court. Nixon did it, and other people do it. Take it up to 30 if you need to. That'd be more representative than 9. So, but I'm gonna get passionate about that. Like, I'm gonna really get into it.
And maybe they have this covert plan that we just don't know about, because I know they don't be looking at my tweets, but I be trying to tweet them like, this is what y'all need to be doing. I don't work for y'all, but y'all want to hire me. I mean, anyhow, but what y'all need to be doing is like, you need to pack the courts. I'm just gonna let you know, get rid of all student loans, because don't be doing these little caps, all of them. I want mine gone. Then healthcare, I'm not a fan of the public option. And just from data and statistics and doing research and comparing to the National Health Service system, and I know that it's all a business, but healthcare and people's lives should not be a business.
Thank you.
When you have a public option, you're still going to have competition, and we don't need that big of competition, because people need to have access to preventative care. We just treat illness. We don't push prevention. We don't create it. We don't make it easy for you to get it. We don't make it clear. They'll tell you, oh yeah, you got health insurance and the preventative care is covered, but it's like all these extra loops and curves that you got to go through. So I'm not a fan of the public option. I think that everybody should have healthcare, and then if you want to go get your BBL, body transformation and augmentation and elective things, go ahead, get you some insurance and pay for that. But
get it, okay?
High blood pressure should be treated,
Now, in a general sense, what do you think are some of the issues that exist within the Black community, and some issues that we face from the outside as well? Like, so how we're so divisive over something as simple as you got on Timberlands and you got on Jordans, things of that nature.
Yes, I think one of our biggest issues is that, man, we don't work collaboratively together. Everybody is so competitive. And it's okay to be competitive, but nobody wants to open the door for somebody else. Nobody wants to, reach down once they make it somewhere. Again, we get trapped into this silo and believe that we're better. And okay, let me back up, because I'm gonna be completely honest. I do believe that I'm better than some people. Not like God made me better, but I just believe that I shouldn't associate with some people in general. But
absolutely,
I think as far as Black people, when we talk about, because this whole political season about the Black vote and the Black agenda, Black plan, I think, first of all, we need to all agree on what issues are most pressing for us as a community, and then have our leaders work from the bottom up there. Because it doesn't start like when Ice Cube went to Trump, or, with the Black plan, with platinum plan. Yes, okay, you know what? But let me tell you what, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't trickle down, and we can stop feeding into trickle down actions to change. I think if we came together as a community, for example, hypothetically, I tell my husband this, we talk about this. What should really happen is, like, if Black people can have, like we had a Greenwood back in the day, so we just got to pick a place that we want this to happen. We can kick people out of Wyoming, but I don't really like those states in Montana because it's cold, right? So we just need, like, our own space.
Right. Our own space.
Own space. And I think Chris Rock brought up a good point when he was saying, like, segregation, when people were fighting, it's like we wanted equal access. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, I want to be able to sit with you at the counter. I want equal access. So I think that as Black people, we progress, but our mindset has to be about survival. Just as hard as these right-wing militia people go, we need to be ready to go as hard about protecting Black men, protecting Black women, protecting Black children. If our education systems are not adequate, we need to put in. We can't blame anybody, and we can't wait for anybody to come and fix it. we also need to stop perpetuating and feeding into these myths like, oh, that Black people keep money, but we have been robbed, like generationally, systemically and systematically, we have been robbed. We didn't get passed down the equity from having houses because of redlining. We didn't get passed down. Like my mama and my daddy weren't working in healthcare, and this door was open for me where I could, just talk to my friend such and such, and they'll write you a letter. I didn't have that. So I think we have to get a plan to be, first of all, work together. I don't see this other person as my competition. We need to stop that while there's a healthy level of competition. Like if you are successful, I think that you should open up doors for other people. I'm not saying you just got to give stuff away, but there's people that want it, and you got to open up the space for them to have that opportunity. I also think that we need to financial literacy is a big thing, and that's a generational thing that it can be embarrassing to talk about when you're like, listen, I don't be knowing everything. I've had to learn over time some trial error expenses of bankruptcy. Like these are things that we don't talk about because it's more flashy to talk about. I got this Benz and I got these, whatever material things. We need to like shift all that in. We need to strengthen the Black family. I'm so serious about that. Like if we could we so often highlight toxic relationships that and toxic images of relationships and these unrealistic expectations that we have just this fractured family unit. And I think together we're stronger. If we can get more Black men, Black women together, rearing our Black children, it'll be different. We need to get rid of that whole mentality of, I need a man to pay 50-50. When you're making money, we need to put this together and come up with a plan.
Exactly. Some of the old traditions or traditions of old, it's time to let that go. And it's
gone. That's just it's just not there anymore. And this is another conversation that we talk about in my household a lot, because I see all this going around like, okay, we have to have more to offer than our body. And because listen, what people don't want to talk about, like all these, you ever look at those Fashion Nova models, you be like, all these white people bought these booties and these titties, and they just don't want the Black struggle, but they want to be us. And we get into this whole competition with these people. It's like they trying to be us. Like, first of all, we just got to be great and do what we need to do. And because they're gonna follow. That's
always. They always do. They do it in silence.
Absolutely, they come out talking about some. Look at these. What she call them? Boxer rolls. The Kardashians.
The boxer braids. Oh, and I was on fire. I said, now we're renaming them outright. Boxer braids.
Yeah, because you can't appropriate it, completely unless you rename it. You got to be like recreated. Like, look at these.
If I could have drove up
with their knotless braids, I want to see.
Girl, bye, honey. If I could have went out to Cucamachu, California, or wherever they stay at, it would have been on and popping, because I would have beat them braids right off that child's head. That was just unacceptable.
But we have to honestly understand our power, our strength, our divinity, how we set the tone for everything. And when people get past that mindset of like, oh, I'm less than, I don't deserve this, I am, encroaching into spaces that I'm all about going into spaces and shaking up the room. And we have to be strategic about how we do that. We need people that are going to be our local leaders, because it's different when you are an organizer than when you are that leader. We need some people, because some people can speak it. I tell my husband all the time, like, he won't do it right now, but I'm like, you should run for something, because if I'm running for something, I'm gonna say something. They're gonna get me on tape. They're gonna pull it up, and they'll be like, well, Jackie, and I'm like, you know what? I did say that. Mm-hmm. I did. But we need people to own their lanes and excel in that. We don't need to step in everybody else's lane. Some people are our healthcare providers, our hairstylists, our whatever you're going to be. Do that great, and then bring whoever else you can. Because I don't know. I think it's part of an insecurity that's been woven into our culture. So we believe that we're things that we're not.
Absolutely. And I was going to
raise our kids.
Raise them the way that we should raise them. Stop giving them last place in participation trophies, because those are for winners. Those are for winners. I just told my kids, I said, look, y'all growing up in this little weak generation where we want to make it seem like you showed up and that's enough. No, it's never enough to just show up. You need to come through and be excellent. And if you didn't win, okay, if you shed a tear, that's fine. Wipe that tear and then regroup and regame. How are you going to come back? Because right now we just make it seem like it's okay to just be mediocre, and mediocrity should not be celebrated. I'm sorry. And we're setting up a culture of expectation. That's where you have this generation of everything should be just given to me because I'm here. Yes, you may cry because you lost, but look at Serena Williams, who I love to death. I've been with her since she was getting her ass whooped by Venus all them years. And every time she got beat by Venus, she cried, she ugly cried, and she got angry. But each time she got stronger, she worked harder, and then she started beating Venus' ass, and then she started beating everybody else.
Well, I think the crazy thing about that is like when I pay attention to people who want to become PAs, for example, I'm like, I just had to do this paper and I think this data was actually from like 2013 or maybe it's 15, but it was saying that, you know, for each seat, there's 2.3 people applying for each seat. So like anywhere from 2 to 3 people are applying from one seat. And I come across this, and I don't know if I'm going to blame social media, and because to a degree I can blame social media, but people don't have any sense of self-worth. They don't know how to fight for something. Like you said, they think they're just supposed to get, like, I graduated undergrad, I want to be a PA, I'm going to apply right now. And then their whole world is crushed because they didn't get in. And it's like, you only apply once. So there's people who apply many years, and you're not guaranteed. I don't care because you had the perfect grades. You're not guaranteed a spot. You know what I'm saying? So it's this generation. I was like, it's kind of scary because you think, oh, well, why didn't I was supposed to get this? Like, were you really the most qualified? You don't know everybody's story. You don't know everybody's and I think I have like this little inkling. There's so many people dancing on Instagram making it seem like this life is glamorous, and I just want people to know that it's not. Like, shoot, I don't know how I made it. If I had to do PA school right now, I probably would.
Maybe I'm still broken. Like, I'm not the same person. Like,
let's see, my girls, when I went to PA school, so my son was 7, my girls were 1. I must have been smoking crack. You're like, why would you go to PA school then? I started out, so it was me, this other black dude, and then Hispanic dude. The next semester is just me and Hispanic dude. The next semester is just me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm going to be next because all the minority people, they go, you know. And then it was just like, study. I didn't have a system because I got kids and I have a house to manage. And it's not glamorous. Or even with work. Like, I think about, we get all these people make it seem like, let me set up my lighting and do this extra cute pose in my scrubs. And I'm like, look, y'all lucky. I took a shower before I didn't work today. These scrubs are clean, they're about to be wrinkled. And I'm just trying to get through the day. 5 o'clock, I need you to come on. So I think that there's this big misperception that everything is glamorous. Everything, so it makes it seem like it's easy and you want to live that life. But I mean, even the job itself ain't easy. I don't know if every PA that I see online think they're going to become this dermatology PA with this sweet schedule of working part-time, and but that's not how it is either. I have worked in places where I could see 30-something, 40-something people in a day. I am not getting off on time. I didn't get to eat. I didn't get to pee. I just got cussed out. Somebody with antibiotics. Like, it's just not, we need to stop that. So that's why I kind of have this little thing when I see people up on here.
Like, okay. Somebody went straight from undergrad to school.
That's why, and that's kind of like why I've taken on this responsibility to be mentoring people, because I want to know what it really is. I ain't charging you because I'm tired of people seeing, oh my gosh, I'm tired of seeing people get ripped off. Capitalism. I tell you, people sell anything. I'm like, y'all know y'all can Google this stuff and y'all just pay somebody $600.
For simple resources. Simple resources.
Simple resources. $600. I was like, wow.
And I was going to add to your point, like when I first started, because I just finished PA school in December of 2019. And when I got my job, I was like, ooh, I'm about to be dressed up every day, wear my tie because I'm Black. So I need to go the extra step to be taken seriously. And I was like, and let me press this white coat because, you know, we Black people, honey, we got to be pressed. I need to see them creases in the sleeve and all of that. Baby, when I tell you, I get up, I usually is sitting right here, I just grab it. And whether it's wrinkled or whatever, grab this bag and I'm out the door. And now I wear scrubs. I would not wear scrubs when I first started. Now I'm like, yes.
Yes, no, seriously. So I think that, like when I think of, I had to let that out because that is like my big thing now. I know it's a fad and I know it's something that'll pass, but I'll be having to unfollow people because I'm like, listen, y'all this can't be my whole timeline. Like,
of just, right. Ooh, PA.
Right. And it's not.
That was something I had to correct my classmates about. Like, I told them, hey, y'all better be great to your nurses because your nurses are going to make or break your practice, number one. And number two, a lot of them came in it from this their parents still do their laundry. They still do this. They don't even know how to have a basic conversation with somebody who don't look like them. And I'm just like, y'all are so, when y'all, in the way that we answer questions in lecture, I'm just like, baby, wait until y'all get y'all first patient and y'all are not a student no more, because it is going to rock your world.
That's what I said. I remember us in PA school having a class. Well, it was like one lecture or something like that about delivering bad news. I said what they need to do is they need the upset patient. I said no. They need a patient to cuss you clear out, clear out
all the way.
That will happen. And then how will you respond? Or you need to go in and do stuff and then have the fake patient say, you know what, I don't want to see you. How will you respond then? Because that let it be something that you were wearing a purple shirt, and I hate people that wear purple shirts. Like, that's how people need to be prepared for that. And I don't think that they're prepared because they think it's going to be this super. I mean, like, I've heard new PAs. Like, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. Like, what? Why? Why did you not think it's going to be? Think about how hard it was for you to get to that point, to get through it. So you thought afterwards, the work is rewarding. I will not say it's not, but it's not easy. And like, for example, how you describe your job situation. I have worked, I want to say it's like 6 or 7 different jobs. I've been PA for 9.5 years. Next year will be 10 years. But I am definitely, when I will jump ship, I'm not going to be disrespected. Work-life balance is very important to me. And every job does not set you up for that. We got people thinking they're going to come out making $150,000. I'm like, you're a new grad. Let me tell you what you don't know. I don't make $150,000. So that's not what you're going to make. And then they want to make that working as a darn PA.
That's why I rolled my eyes.
Not how it works. So I think that whole misperception and misinformation about what the life is like needs to stop being spread. Like, you're going to work weekends, holidays, and it may not be your first job. And jobs right now with COVID are hard to come by. They are, and they are dependent on your state. If it's real MP heavy, you got that competition that's going on. And then if they want somebody who's experienced and you're a new grad and you're like, well, man, I don't be experienced if you don't give me experience. That's a real thing. So I think they need to go in with this different mindset and have this different approach. I'm just thinking now, like right now I'm comfortable in my job. So I keep telling them I ain't going nowhere yet. I get my doctorates next year. So we'll see what happens after that. But but I've worked in neurosurgery. That was my first job. I worked it for 1 year and 18 days. ER I did for three years. I did urology for 2 years. Then I went to urgent care, and then I'm in occupational medicine. I don't know why nobody never told me about occupational medicine before.
I never go into surgery ever. That is just a culture of toxicity. I will never, ever, ever do it.
I'm gonna be completely honest. So the neurosurgeon I worked for was just weird, and he was disrespectful, and I was like, we're gonna be fighting. I'm gonna have my daddy come up here. It's not gonna be sweet. I'm not her. You can't talk. You can't cuss me out. You can't talk. You can't throw nothing at me. We're gonna be here fighting. I had to tell him straight up. I'm like, my daddy is black and he's bigger than you, so you might want to watch how you talking to me. But I digress. I like procedures, So if I didn't have to work in like long hours, because that job I was working like at least 60 hours in a week. And, I want to, if I'm doing surgery, I just want to do surgery. I don't want to do surgery in the clinic and then hospital. Like, I be wanting to do what I want to do. So yeah, that's why that didn't work for me. So and right now I think my lifestyle just wouldn't support. I don't want to be on call. I was a nurse since I was 20. So I've worked in healthcare my entire adult life. And I don't want to be on call. Right now I don't work weekends. I don't work holidays. I work Monday through Friday, but my ideal job would be like 3 days. Because I worked these past 3 days. I was like, dang, y'all get a different Jackie because I only had to come in here 3 days.
Period.
I had to drive past these Trump signs.
All day long.
All week I was getting triggered. I really would, because it'd be a new sign that pop up on my way to work. I'm like,
right. Well, let me ask you I was going to say 2 things. The first thing about the new PAs and all that, what really brought it home for me was the fact that I learned at the end of the program that you get 70 to 80% that a doctor gets in 4 years condensed into 2 years. So whoever's hearing me say that, maybe you should think about that before you get to wondering why is it so hard. Okay, I hate to say it because I respect the difference between a doctor and a PA, but you are getting 70 to 80% of what they get in 4 years. And really in 1.5 years, because didactic years.
Last year's clinicals, right?
Right. So now your thesis. The final question is the thesis for this whole For Colors Only project. This is my big thesis. How can anyone that is Black continue to support the Black Lives Matter message when it is clear that in the Black community only certain Black lives matter?
Let me think for a second, because that's That's a question. Let me, because I'm trying to think how I want to word what's in my head. So I think in supporting the Black Lives Matter community, there's actually, I think it goes back to the one question you asked about us working collectively, because we do have people who I'm better than, and you're just kind of, well, those issues aren't my issues. And when we care about working collectively together, I care about how you make me look. So
Okay.
I'm going to, but I mean, for real, that's kind of like as a family. I tell my daughters all the time, like, we got to make sure your ponytail is right. Like if you, because we walk out here, because my girls don't help me, otherwise they wouldn't care. But like, bring it together because I care about you, and people, when we represent for all Black people, they will, and what happens, unfortunately, is that the bad gets way more recognition. Oh my gosh, recognition.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And acknowledgement than the good does. So it just like, so you'll have, I'm just trying to think of a bad situation. A shooting, two Black people shoot each other in the neighborhood, or whatever the case may be, some little kid dies or something like that, and that gets amplified 10 times more than what was done to prevent that from being 10 people, or what was done to help this community. So I think what we have to do is kind of change where the attention goes, because I mean, for example, yesterday in Wisconsin, in one of the suburb places, 2 cops got killed by a white person. Do you think that was just spread around the news?
Oh no, because I didn't hear anything about it.
The biggest, the most embarrassing, or a picture of some time when they were 15 and stole some candy out the store. Like, no, that's not what happened. I don't even think they're talking about it now. But had there been a Black person kill another Black person, it is amplified. Because they want to steer a narrative. So I think it's not only certain Black lives matter, but I mean, maybe I should clarify the question. So when you say certain Black lives, do you mean like certain, like if somebody's like, oh, I'm Nigerian, I'm not Black American or something like that?
Or no, like how, at least I kind of perceived it to be, the response for George Floyd versus the response for Breonna Taylor was very lukewarm. Or yes. How we don't like Black gay people and stuff like, not we, but.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that is more of we have to take a social responsibility as Black people, because we have to individually put as much emphasis on that, because I think that all Black lives matter. And I also believe that, Black community should do better as far as that's why I said when we have to come up with a plan or what the Black agenda is, it needs to be focused in those areas, because if we collectively know what it is that we want and what we need to make our communities better, then we wouldn't have those issues, in my opinion. Because I think if everybody was able to have, like, everybody in the hood was able to have access to a job that provided a living wage, and they didn't have, we wouldn't have some of the issues that we have. So I think it's just a bigger issue. So it's not as simple as only certain Black lives matter to me. I think it's more of us working collectively, the people who are in power to influence, impact, connect, whoever network with, whoever makes the changes, or whoever can change something. I think that is one of our biggest issues or things we need to battle, because it kind of goes back to how I felt about the Black men that vote for Trump. I think what happens is that we get to a point where we're like, well, we arrived and those issues aren't my issues, but they're still your issues, because you could escape the hood and live a perfectly planned out life, and then your kid go back to be that hood kid over, like, the cycle doesn't stop unless we actively do things. And I'm big on self-preservation. Like, I don't feel that I should be endanger myself to help others. Like, I'm be completely honest. I live where is mostly Black people, but I can tell you there's some neighborhoods I'm just not gonna live in. I got kids to protect, and people just don't care. We got to get people to care more about themselves, care more about the community, and then again realize your worth. You got to think about it. Somebody who's in an abusive relationship, a lot of the times because they don't understand their own self-worth. So I think we just have been in this abusive relationship in America as Black people. And part of it has been that we didn't realize our own self-worth. When we realize the power we have, like, we can have our own dang Wakanda if we get it together.
Okay.
And don't be intimidated, and don't take it as disrespect. We got to know how to have, constructive conversations where I'm coming to you in love and I'm talking about this area that needs to be corrected. I'm not trying to disrespect you, but I just want you to, like, be presentable. Maybe don't cuss that girl out in front of me and my kids. Like, it's behaviors. We got to get this sense of community. So I don't think it's only certain Black lives matter. I just think that we only give attention to those that fit our narrative. And it kind of goes back to knowing your biases and your prejudices. So I'm big on whatever people do for their life. Like if you want to be against, I don't want to be against anything that I can choose not to participate in. If I don't agree with gay marriage, guess what? I don't gotta do? Go marry nobody gay. If I don't want to have an abortion, guess what I don't have to do? Go have an abortion. Like I have a choice. So I think we have to be open because there's a lot of things that have just been passed down generationally that is from the oppressor. And we've just held on to it and we manifest that hate or that abuse or that fear of loss of power. So we just got to bring back our self-worth, tell people that they're beautiful to somebody. No,
it took a minute, but I caught it after a minute.
No, God didn't make no mess. I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry, God. I don't know. But I think that it comes back down to just self-worth and correction and being open to the correction. And unfortunately, everybody's not going to be open to that. And I wish I had a solution for it, but I don't. But when I say Black Lives Matter, I mean every Black life matters. And yeah, I know that's hard to like get everybody else to be on board for. But so if you don't call people out, they don't know that they did it. They don't know that they did that. Or you gotta get Mike Tyson to call people out, like Mike Tyson called out with that Boosie.
Say, well, he might
be a bad track. He was like, but I wasn't trying to. Well, maybe we just need Mike Tyson to call everybody out on it.
Because you see, and Boosie wasn't all big and bad and yelling and hopping up and down.
He was not. I was like, oh man, he afraid he ain't about to smack you. You just smacked yourself.
Well, Jackie, tell everybody how to contact you on social media and some of the stuff you offer, because I know I just got my physician assistant hat with the little ball. I said, honey, I got to have her.
My shirt. I'm about to say it's in the closet, and I don't want you to see all my mess right there. But yes. So first, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll be on Instagram way more than I am on like Twitter or Facebook, because I just like pictures. But anyhow, that's _ I am Jackie. And then I also have apparel that I sell where 10% of the proceeds, and I chose 10% because, God be telling you 10% for everything and stuff. So, but 10% of the proceeds, because I don't want people thinking I'm balling out, and that's not what it is. I'm never trying to get over on people. I want to see how I can give back, but I got to also keep the website going, and that costs money. But I have hats, shirts, tote bags, phone cases. There's like winter hats and the caps. Different colors, and they're at www.jackiethepa.com. But 10% of all the sales of those are going to go to help people pay for CASPA fees, because a barrier of entry is the actual application process. I'm involved with the NCCPA. I do stuff with AAPA because that's how we make change. People don't want to understand that money changes policy. So you need to be where that policy is being formed, because if you're not there, I'm telling you, there are people who may not have your best interest, who don't know your viewpoint, and they're going to be making these decisions for you. But a lot of them ask me, like, how can we get more people of color into PA school? I'm like, well, the application itself is expensive. So I want to be able to do my part, and it's not going to do it for every single body, but even if I was able to help 3, 4, 5 people, that's more than what I was able to do before. So when people buy stuff, I don't want them thinking like I know, it's to help other people and pay it forward. And then I'm selecting my people right now, right? The application is closed currently, but I am mentoring people who want to pursue PA, any health profession, nursing, only because people just need to know somebody who does not have a perfect story, who's not going to fluff things and make it sound cute, and who's not trying to get you for money. Like, I do believe that my time is valuable, but if you put your time into the right people, you'll be rewarded appropriately. So that's what else I got going on. And I'm working on my doctorate, so y'all pray for me, because I don't be wanting to do my homework some of the time. But by the grace of God, June 4th, 2021, you'll be able to call me Dr. Jackie, the PA.
Okay, Dr. Jackie. Yes.